Let's take a couple of minutes and talk about type layers. Well, a type layer is a layer like other layers, and you can do the same thing with type layers that you can do with other layers. But there are a few special things. Let me show you. I'm just going to highlight my lowest layer here, the paper, and I'm going to put a word of type on there. I'm going to click on my type tool, and I'm just going to move my cursor out here and type in the word type. Okay, let's move this down just a little bit, and I'm going to click on another layer just to deactivate that, and you can see that my type is on its own layer here called type. Now what can I do with that? Well, for one thing, I can put some effects on there. Lots of times people like to put a drop shadow on type. Well, let's go ahead and do that. And the way we do that is we click on the effects button down at the bottom, and I can just click on drop shadow. I come over here, here's my drop shadow, and I can actually come out here and drag the drop shadow around and move it to where I want it. I want to keep it fairly close, but at the same time what I want to do is I want to make it a lot more diffused. So let's just bring it out kind of like that. There we go. All right. The other thing I may want to do here is I can put a bevel and emboss on here. So let's just go in and click on bevel and emboss, and I'll just use inner bevel. It's already set to that. We'll make it a little bit deeper, and we'll bring the size up a little bit so that we can see it. There we go. We can change our angle of lighting on there. All right, that's good. And let's even go in and change the color of the type. That's a little brash to have it so black. So I'm just going to double click on the type icon, which will highlight the layer here, and then I'm just going to go in and I'm going to make this type, say, a deep red. There we go. All right. Now let's click out here so that we can set that. Okay, what else can we do with this? Well, one of the things I can do with it, since I do have some other layers out here, I've got an image right here. Now what I want to do is I can use that type layer as a clipping mask so that I can actually put this image inside of the type. How do I do that? That's easy. Now you see I have the image just above the type layer, and now all I have to do is hold down my Alt or Option key and click on the line between the layer and the type, and you can see that the cursor changes to this little clipping icon, and all of a sudden I've got my picture in my type. It still has the drop shadow, and it still has the bevel and emboss on it. Now if I go in, if I click on my layer with the picture on it and activate the move tool, you can see I can actually move this around inside, and there we go. We'll move that over so that we can see Morro Rock right there. Now the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to change this. I don't want to have that picture in there anymore. So I'm going to take the picture out, and I'm going to take this layer and I'm going to unconnect it. And let's just take it and drag it down here to the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a gravel texture on the type. And what you see here is I've activated the layer. It totally covers the type. So what do? I hold down my Option or Alt key. I go to the line between the type layer and the gravel texture, and all of a sudden my gravel texture is right in there. Now to make this look a little nicer, I'm going to go back into my bevel and emboss, and I'm going to change that a little bit. Let's make the size a lot bigger. There we go. So it looks more like it's a built-up rock. It gives it more dimensionality. And I don't really like the color of it, so I'm going to change it. Well, how can I change it? Well, that's easy. I go up to my gravel texture layer, and holding down my Option or Alt key, I click on my hue saturation adjustment layer. And I'm going to say use the previous layer to create a clipping mask. And now I can take my hue and saturation and I can move it around. And you can see that some of the colors inside the type are very subtly moving. Well, I can make that happen a lot more by clicking Colorize. And when I click Colorize, then I can increase my saturation on the color, and I can make it any color that I want. Let's go with a blue. That kind of stands off. And now, what I want to do is I want to show you something else. The type layer is still editable type. So all I need to do is double click on the word type, and I can type anything else in there, like maybe rock. There you go. That's how you can use a type layer within layers in conjunction with a lot of the other effects.